So probably you guys have heard the term diamonds are a girl's best friend. Well, I want to let you know a little secret. It's actually the defects that are the best part. So today I want to tell you a little bit about one very special diamond defect called the NV center. And I'm willing to bet that most of you have actually probably seen this thing before. Why? Because that's what gives diamond their color. So, what does the NV center actually look like? Well, if we were to look at diamond really close, we would see we have this really nice regular pattern of carbon atoms. So if we now take one of these carbon atoms out and replace it with a nitrogen and have a hole nearby, what we get is a nitrogen vacancy, or NV center. And this little tiny defect is amazing because it acts as a sensor. And it can measure a number of things. It can measure magnetic fields, electric fields, temperature. The list goes on. But how? So what we actually have to do is we have to excite this NV. And we do this by shining a green laser at it. We shine a green laser, and the NV begins to emit red photons. Then, when we measure these red photons, we learn all the information we need. And it all relies on the fact that the NV has three states. Has a 0, +1, and -1 state. And if the NV is in the 0 state, it produces a lot of photons. In the +1 states, less. So in this way, we can determine what state the NV is in. And then, if we measure the energy differences between these states, we can determine what, for example, the magnetic field is at the NV. And that's because the energy levels depend on the magnetic field. And this is exactly what we do in our lab. We measure the tiny magnetic fields produced at the surfaces of materials to learn more about their material properties. But you can go much further than this. Let's say you're a biologist, and you want to learn a little bit about how nerve cells send impulses. Well, this impulse is really just a current, and currents produce magnetic fields. And so scientists are working on getting the NV close enough to the cell such that you can measure these magnetic fields in real time. You could also say, as I mentioned, measure temperature. And let's say you're trying to determine a way of heating cancer cells locally. Well, the NV center acts as a great thermometer. So with that, I hope I can convince you that even though diamonds might be a girl's best friend, when that girl is a scientist, it's the defects that are the best.